Hello and welcome to Washington Exec's video series. I'm Amanda Ziadeh with Washington Exec, and with me today is Greg Baroni, CEO and co-founder of Attain and new founder of Attain Partners. Thank you so much for joining me today, Greg.
My pleasure.
All right, so along with your many roles with Attain Partners, you are also on the board of directors of the Northern Virginia Technology Council, or NVTC. So we're here to talk about what's on the horizon for NVTC in 2021 and beyond. So I'd like to start by asking you, Greg, what's NVTC's mission? Why does it exist and who does it serve?
Sure, Amanda. So let me see if I can share a little background on NVTC. It's hard to believe, but on the 22nd of May this year, NVTC will be actually celebrating its 30th birthday. The council is a trade association representing the Capital Region's tech community. And for the past 3 decades, NVTC has served companies from all sectors of our industry here, ranging from small businesses and startups to the Fortune 100 tech companies, as well as service providers, the academic community, foreign embassies, and nonprofit associations, or organizations, I should say. And nearly 500 members make up the membership today. I would say NVTC is one of the largest and most influential tech councils in the nations, and most people don't realize that. So, and I should point out that over the past 6 months, under the new leadership of Jennifer Taylor, the CEO, we have embarked on a strategic planning process, and one of them was to really get this North Star correct. And so let me see if I can start with mission. When you look at mission, we really have to say, why are we existing, which is what you asked, and what is it that we do and how is it we do it? So let me see if I can phrase it, and then maybe you could give us some feedback on that. Maybe those of you listening could give us feedback. So when we say our mission, it's to connect, educate, and advocate for our members, the purpose of which is to grow and advance a thriving technology ecosystem in the Capital Region. That's the mission. Now, the vision, the North Star, what is it that we aim to be, if you will, from a destination standpoint, is to be the most vibrant and collaborative tech community in the world that positively impacts the communities we serve. So I know it's a mouthful, vision and mission, but the two are inextricably linked to one another, and it's important to get both out.
Yeah, absolutely. So what differentiates our region from other tech centers across the country?
The region, I think, for most of us who are here and choose to be here, we know it's highly respected for its rich diversity in technology. And you may not know this, and maybe your audience doesn't know this, but up to 70% of the world's internet traffic actually passes through the Northern Virginia area each day. Northern Virginia is a major tech hub. I'd even say the National Capital Region is a major tech hub, and known for its expertise in areas ranging from telecom and cybersecurity all the way to data centers, cloud, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the who's who, or I should say the what's what of technology. More and more commercial technology players are coming into this region. Our area is home to the NIH, the largest extramural and intramural funded research entity in the world, more than 150 colleges and universities, including the #1 research institution in the country, which is Johns Hopkins University, home to 2 of the flagship state universities, at University of Maryland College Park and UVA, one of the most respected liberal arts institutions in William and Mary, one of the most respected and top 10 community college systems in the country, Northern Virginia Community College System. And I could keep on going. 2 of the flagship DC campuses in Georgetown and GW. One of the fastest growing universities in the region here, and George Mason University, and I could keep going.
Yeah.
Not only that, you've got one of the most respected engineering institutions in the country right here at Virginia Tech. And then you look at what Virginia Tech is doing with their innovation campus, George Mason with their Institute for Digital Innovation in Arlington, Virginia. I could keep going and going about all the things that the education and research landscape is far more respected and known in this region of the country than anywhere in the U.S. Then you look at the workforce. So I've talked about education and research. Now let's look at workforce. Region has the third largest pool of tech talent, just behind New York City and of course the San Francisco Bay Area. It's this region is one of the leading hubs for digital tech employment, and is in fact expected to add more than 130,000 jobs in the next 5 years. So then, when you look at the tech landscape, we're the home of some of the most renowned tech companies in the country, frankly, in the world. I mean, just think of it. Amazon chose to move here, their second headquarters.
Mhm.
We also have companies like Appian, which is on the forefront of low code, no code. You have companies like MicroStrategy who have led the way in terms of big data and analytics. In terms of learning management, I'm very proud to say we're home to Blackboard, but also some of the other learning our educational company plays here, including 2U. And then let's not forget, we're also home to one of the large sectors of our economy here, the government contractor community, which includes companies like Mantech and SAIC and CACI, all of which were homegrown here, but also companies like Maximus, who's one of the fastest growing and new top 20 players in the government contracting community. Some of the big consultancies, Booz Allen Hamilton, Deloitte, and Accenture are also making their homes here. So when you look at the whole region, from tech to the tech services plays, we're the home of and where you want to be if you're a tech player. This region is home to the largest customer in the world, the U.S. government. And when you look at customer, the education and research landscape, the tech talent and tech landscape, I mean, where else would you want to be if not here?
Speaking of, this area, the pandemic last year, I understand that there were many changes at NVTC in 2020. Can you give us some insight into how the association has embraced these changes?
Sure. I mean, I think we all had to embrace change in 2020, whether we were ready for it or not. The pandemic hit us right between the eyes and really forced us to take a hard look at the way we were doing things and brace for major change ahead. I like to say that there were like three periods that we all faced during this when we hit the pandemic, and that was initial triage, then transition, and then transformation. And that's the way, that process is what we're still evolving ourselves through right now. And NVTC was no different. It had to embrace a culture of innovation. It had to be ready to pivot, which it did, and serve its members in a new and different way, and also in new and different formats, most notably shifting from in-person events to virtual events. And then we had a major change in leadership in the middle of all this. After 22 years at the helm of leading NVTC, Bobby Kilberg retired in June of 2020. And it was interesting because I want people to know it wasn't because of the pandemic. She had actually planned that transition for over the past year and a half. That was a major change. Not only do we have the pandemic, we had somebody who had become legendary in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area for having led the tremendous success that NVTC experienced over that period. And then NVTC had to move to a 100% remote environment, while all the while managing to deliver its NVTC events and programs all in virtual format. New programming emerged. I think you probably saw the Masters of Leadership series, and we served so many. We had so many guests from CEOs of major companies. Most recently, we had Larry Culp from GE, but we also have cool Friday morning events called morning coffees, which we get usually 50 to 70 people attending as well every Friday. And now we have a new series, NVTC is that called Let's Talk Tech with NVTC. So all this happening and finding new ways to serve our membership here. And that just continues. So lots of change. And I only referenced the pandemic, but there was a lot of social unrest that really dealt with diversity. And we as a community, if you will, a pillar of our community, we too had to step up and address that. And so while there was a catalyst that occurred in terms of some of the deaths associated with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and others, it was a call to action for all pillars of society. And we were one of those that also stood tall and addressed it. And we are still continuing to address the need for increased diversity in all dimensions of our business. And NVTC, again, has been among the leaders navigating the way there.
Wonderful. Well, that's extremely important. So thank you for sharing, especially from that point of view. So looking forward, what is NVTC focused on in 2021 and beyond in terms of its priorities?
I referenced earlier, Amanda, that NVTC had undertaken a strategic planning initiative. We embarked on that initiative back in September. The first dimension of that was to take an honest look at our current state. And I mean honest, it's not that we would ever be dishonest, but we wanted to make sure that we did some self-reflection on what were our strengths, our weaknesses, and then what were the opportunities that lie ahead and what would be the potential threats. We call that a SWOT analysis or an environmental scan. And that helped chart the course. I talked earlier about vision and mission, which was to make sure during that strategic planning process that we validated with our members that North Star. But now what we're doing is focusing in on really what are the critical strategic priorities that NVTC has to undertake going forward. One is to focus on who and how we serve. We want to cultivate an exceptional member experience that enables member companies to grow, thrive, and drive impact in the region's tech ecosystem. We want to grow our membership, and we want to improve the NVTC value proposition by creating new, relevant, and impactful engagement opportunities for our members to network and solve industry challenges. The second one, and I think really triggered, if you will, by the pandemic, was to develop a more sustainable operating model, to focus in on enhancing the effectiveness of the operating model in which NVTC operates that would enable innovation, improve decision-making, and most importantly, financial stewardship. And so again, that's going to be the second major priority. The third is kind of refreshing our brand, as we call it, really refreshing and communicating who we are, positioning NVTC as the leading regional tech council in the nation by consistently communicating its purpose, its mission, and its impact. And finally, it's to focus on the future. If anything the pandemic did, it was to make sure that we are more predictive and more anticipatory of what's happening in the future. And so we want to make sure we're paying particular attention to that. So our fourth priority is to focus on the future so that we can anticipate trends and innovate and lead in a changing environment. Frankly, we have to lead the change, if you will. And our members have to see us as not only living the change, but also to be a tremendous resource of best practices and access to opportunities. And so the strategic plan, that we don't anticipate completing that until the end of May and early June of this year. So we're still in process. And if any of your audience is listening and wants to participate and help us shape it, we welcome the opportunity for them to do so.
And where can they go to learn more or get involved?
Sure. Two places. One is you can communicate directly with Jen Taylor, who's the CEO of NVTC. She welcomes the opportunity. The second is, and I should point out that Attain Partners is leading the effort there as a way to contribute back to NVTC and for all the years of our association with the organization. And it's under the leadership of Reshma Patel Jackson, so you could reach out to her.
Well, it has been great catching up with you today, Greg, and thank you for giving us some insights on the future of NVTC. Thank you for being here with me.
Our pleasure. And thank you, Amanda, for the opportunity.